YouTube! This is actually the first video I ever shot. And the idea was to give you an example of a creative process of getting from idea to actual pose. So, let's get posing! So, welcome back to the figure posing channel. First of all, I'd like to thank my fellow admins Peter White and Owen Choi over at our Facebook group 6 Scale Poses. And most of all, I would like to thank Peter Ton of Posing with Peter for being the absolute gem he is, not only to the 1/6 posing community, but also to me personally. This footage was literally shot about a year ago, and it was a video that was way too long. I wasn't content with the pacing. It was an unboxing. I showed articulation of all 3 figures, and then I went into posing, and it was 47 minutes long. And I was getting really frustrated with making the video. I did learn a lot about it, but actually chatting with Peter a couple of times made me not throw this video away. So Peter was a great support in this process, and I've been editing this on and off for a year now. It still shows the process from idea to pose, but in a much quicker fashion. So an idea for a pose usually starts with me just wanting to pose a certain figure because I got it brand new. In this case it was Jor'el I got last, and this made the trio complete, so I had father, son and arch enemy. So first I take into account what they all come with, like this angry head sculpt of the Justice League Superman, and after that I mess around with the figures a bit to get a feeling for all the limitations. So for this Superman, only the back hairline, the shoulder and the upper leg are restricted, but other than that it's a very articulated figure. As opposed to his figure movie dad, Jor'el, which to me was a real nightmare to pose. I did figure out a fun thing because I like to play around with effect pieces. These Neon Tech Iron Man laser effect pieces fit exactly into the holes of the gun. So I could do this little flight pose for Jor'el, which works around the fact that Jor'el's articulation isn't that great. Well, to be totally fair to this figure, it's not actually that the articulation is bad, it's that the garments on top of his suit are very restrictive. And also the brown robes are really of a very rigid material, so they crease in a very weird way, which destroys the illusion of this being a 1/6 scale Jor'el. Which is really a shame, because if you unzip it, underneath there's the Man of Steel body, and that's really flexible. So there's actually great articulation in the body, but because of the upper garments, Jor'el can't make use of it. And also there's the floppy foot syndrome, where the foot just pops back to neutral if you release it. The third figure is the General Zod figure, which is a really great figure. I think it's an underappreciated figure. The armor looks great, he looks great with or without the cape. Even with all the armor he has, he still can pose. He's even able to do a kneeling pose, like in the picture over here. Also, he has an awesome Michael Shannon unmasked head sculpt, and with the mask he also looks very good. So pose-wise, he'll be able to do anything we need him to do for this pose. So there we have it, the 3 figures I wanted to do a pose with. After I've decided which figures I want to pose, I take into account what they come with, the articulation, but also what makes sense story-wise. Well, I already know Jor'el is really hard to pose. He can't pull off a great flying pose because of those boots. Superman can articulate very well, and Zod looks great doing anything you can imagine, really. You could just stand there and look impressive. But to me, these 3 to be in a pose, it would only make sense if Superman was fighting General Zod and if Jor'el was somehow incapacitated. I need Jor'el to be incapacitated because it really makes no sense for Superman to need his father to fight Jor'el. On top of that, the storyline really fits the articulation of Jor'el very well, because if he's incapacitated, you don't really need a great pose for him. So now I'm thinking of Jor'el dying in Superman's arms, and then Superman turning to General Zod to fight him. So what I did, I went to Google, typed in dying in arms, and saw a couple of pictures. So this one was way too feminine of a pose for Jor'el to lie in, so I skipped this one. and then I saw a few others, which all didn't really speak to me, until I came across this one, and this one really said Superman to me. Everything in this picture was right. Except of course for the restriction of the articulation of the Jor'el figure. And then I came across this one. This one is a fan art of Thorin and Bilbo dying in his arms. We already know about the articulation of the two figures. This pose would fit well. Superman can do a double bend in the knee, and his shoulder restrictions aren't a problem. And Jor'el really doesn't need to do anything over here because Bilbo is just lying there. Even Jor'el's boots popping back to the original position isn't a problem anymore. So that's how I decided on the pose. So this is the sped up posing process. I used the right clenched fist to show some tension or grief, and his left hand will be holding Jor'el's hand. Besides that, the only thing necessary is the double bend in the right leg, and the rest will be covered by Jor'el. Oh, and I also used the plastic the batteries came in for some elevation. So this is how the pose came out. It just needed a little adjustment of the head. And I think that little twist really sold the interaction between Jor'el and Superman. Jor'el already having died and Superman grieving over his loss. Seeing it now, the angle still looks a bit weird of Jor'el's body and legs, but overall I'm okay with the pose. Side note, I used a loose right hand of Jor'el to mimic it being lifeless. So I just pulled it out and placed it near his wrist cover. So this is how it came out. So now we needed to add General Zod, and I just used the Superman base, and I actually got the idea of using the dynamic pole this way by Webb's usage of the pole in his Miles Morales posing video. So thanks a lot, Mikeas. To check his videos out, look at The Amazing Webb at YouTube. So as you can see, this is the scene I had in mind. General Zod has killed Jor'el with the laser rifle, Superman finds them, grabs his father and attacks General Zod. So to change from the last pose to this one, I postured Superman towards General Zod. I changed his right clenching fist to a more open protective hand, and I changed Superman's left open hand to a left clenched fist hand to show more of Superman's anger and as an indication that he's using his eye lasers. And General Zod is being shot backwards, using his cape to indicate movement, but also to hide the dynamic stand. So this is how that pose came out. And after this one I remembered I had the laser beam particles, but also the ones from the Mark 7 which are red. So I stuck those into General Zod's armor to finish the pose. The laser effect isn't exactly what an eye blast from Superman would look like, I think, but it still does the job. So this was the end product of this process. I really hope you would like to see the journey from idea to pose. This was really a one-off video, but I really wanted to show you the possible process from idea to pose. Let me know down in the comments if you liked this and if it gave you some other ideas for poses yourself. And again, thanks a lot everyone for making this one possible, and thanks to the amazing Facebook group 6 Kill Poses for being a fun group where we all inspire each other to be creative in our posing. For other amazing posing content, go to Webb's Amazing Web, go to Peter Ton's Posing with Peter, or Terry Smith's How to Be a Poser. So that's it, and as always, keep posing everyone.